Hello, this is Paul in Las Vegas with a baseball pick Saturday, July 8th. And the game start is at 11:10 Pacific Standard Time. And the game is between the Baltimore Orioles and the Minnesota Twins. The Orioles are in second place in the American League East, 3 games behind the Rays. And the Orioles have scored 17 runs in their last 2 games, 27 runs in their last 4 games. They're playing against the Minnesota Twins, who have scored 6 runs in their last 2 games, 23 runs in their last 4 games. And the Orioles are in second in arguably the toughest division in baseball, where the last place Red Sox have a .517 win percentage. The Orioles are plus 31 runs on the year. They have a .598 win percentage, which is third best in the big leagues to Tampa and Atlanta. Atlanta in the lead. The Orioles are 26-17 on the road, 4-6 in their last 10 games, and they have won 3 games in a row. They're playing the Twins, who are in first place in the AL Central with a 45-44 record, a .506 win percentage, which would be in last place in the American League East. The Twins are 26-20 at home with a 56.5% win percentage, and they are 5-5 in their last 10 games. They lost their last game, and they're plus 44 runs on the year. They are a half game ahead of the Cleveland Guardians for the lead in the American League Central. And this is the 5th game of a homestand for them. And they have actually won 5 of their last 7 games. Now, on the mound for the Orioles is Tyler Wells. He is 6'8", 260 pounds, 28 years old. He is from Tulsa, Oklahoma. He has a 93.5 mile an hour fastball and throws 4 pitches: a fastball, a slider, a changeup, and a curve. On the year, he is 6-4 with a 3.19 ERA and a 0.9 ratio. 99 strikeouts for the year and 98 innings pitched, and an opposing batting average under 200 at 188. He has a 4.01 ERA on the road, but he just had a good game on the road against the Yankees. He has a 3.0 ERA again in July. He pitched 2 games against Minnesota last year, where he had a 1.64 ERA, went 11 innings, gave up 7 hits, 1 walk, and a 1.79 opposing batting average. He went to college at Cal State San Bernardino, and when he was drafted by a big league team, he was signed to a $90,000 contract. On the other side of the mound is Sonny Gray. He is 33 years old, born in Smyrna, Tennessee. When he was a junior at Vanderbilt, he had 12 wins. He is 4-2 on the year with a 2.50 ERA, 96 strikeouts, 1.26 ratio. He is 33 years old. He has 5 pitches. He mixes it up, and he throws a 92 mile an hour fastball. He doesn't throw any one of his pitches over 30% of the time. 96 strikeouts and 93 innings pitched, an opposing batting average of .232. At home, where he's pitching today, he has a 2.29 ERA, a 1.62 day ERA, and this is a day game, and a 1.91 opposing batting average during the day. And he's coming off a 6 shutout inning performance in his last game against Baltimore, where he had 7 strikeouts and gave up 2 hits and 3 walks. Last year, he had a game against Baltimore where he didn't fare so well, and that was in one of his 2 bad months of the year, which happened to be July. but he has been hot in June. And that game last year, he had a 5.40 ERA. They had a 3.16 batting average against him. When he was signed by a big league team, he was signed to a $1.5 million contract. So there are two good pitchers today, and what I like on the game is the under. The under has moved down from 8.5 runs to 8 runs. I still like it under. And the UFC event tonight, there is a fight that I like with and a pick that I have for it. Shannon Ross versus Jesus Aguilar. The fight is scheduled to go off at 3:30 Pacific Standard Time. Shannon Ross is 34 years old. He's from Australia. They call him the Turkish Delight. And Jesus Aguilar is 27 years old from Baja, born in Mexico. Shannon Ross is 5'6", 125 pounds. Jesus Aguilar is 5'3", 125 pounds. Shannon Ross has a record of 12-7, which is a 63% win percentage. Jesus Aguilar has a record of 8-2, which is an 80% win percentage. And Shannon Ross has lost 3 of his last 4 fights. All 3 of those losses were by submission. Jesus Aguilar, on the other hand, he's 8-2. He has submitted 6 of his opponents on those 8 wins. And he has 2 wins by decision, no losses by decision. His 2 losses were by submission. So he has ended 75% of his fights early and has a 100% record by the judges. While Shannon Ross has 7 early decisions, or 7 early wins, I should say. So he's ended 58% of his fights early with a win. And he is 5-3 on decision, 62.5% with the judges. And one thing about Jesus Aguilar is he keeps a majority of the fight on the ground, where he is good at getting submissions. And his last fight, he lost to a guy that Tatsuro Taira of Japan. Tatsuro Taira of Japan, who has ended 10 of his 13 fights early and is 13-0 and is 23 years old. And prior to that UFC match against Taira, Aguilar had an 8-fight winning streak going. So I think it was mainly that he went up against a very good fighter and a younger fighter that he lost. And he got caught in an armbar and was submitted. So Aguilar is 7 years younger than Ross, and with the better record, better decision record, a better early win percentage. I like Jesus Aguilar for this fight tonight, scheduled at 3:30. I also took a look at Jimmy Crute versus Alonzo Menafield. I do not have a pick for this fight. This fight is at 5:10 p.m. And these two guys have fought before. In fact, they fought each other the last time they both fought. And that fight's scheduled for 5:10 p.m. It's an interesting fight stylistically because Menafield was much better when they were on their feet, landing punches, while Jimmy Crute was much better when they were wrestling. As he seemed to be a better wrestler, although he didn't really have land many strikes while he was wrestling in that prior fight. Alonzo Menafield is a former football player. He is 35 years old. He played linebacker at Glendale Community College, and he was also in track and field. He earned a scholarship to Texas A&M, and he played professionally in both the Canadian Football League and the Arena Football League. He was a criminal justice major in college, and he has a 76-inch reach, and he is a Muay Thai practitioner, and that's his fighting style. He KO'd Paul Craig, and he lost to William Knight and Oliver St. Preux. He has 13 wins and 3 losses. His 13 wins, he has 10 KOs, 2 submissions. So one of his wins was a decision, and he has 3 losses. One of them was by KO. 2 of them were decisions. So his record on decisions is 1-2. And he also has a draw. His draw was to Jimmy Crute when they fought. Jimmy Crute is 27 years old. He is 6'2", 205 pounds. He has a 74-inch reach to Alonzo Menifield's 76-inch reach. Jimmy Crute is a black in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and he is a former forklift driver. He started training in karate when he was 4 years old, judo when he was 8 years old, and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu when he was 12 years old. And at the age of 19, he made his fighting debut. And he also has some fights against good opponents that I've seen fight before. He submitted Paul Craig, and he lost to Jamahal Hill. He has 12 wins and 3 losses, compared with Menifield's 13 wins and 3 losses. He has 5 KOs, 4 submissions, 9 early victories. He's won 3 fights by decision. He has 3 losses, 2 by KO, 1 by submission. He lost all three of his fights that he lost early, and a draw to Menifield, who's fighting tonight. Now, the fight was an interesting fight stylistically due to, like I said, Menifield being good on his feet and the better boxer, with his punches having much more effect on Jimmy Crute than Jimmy Crute's punches had on him. And Menifield just seemed to be landing much better punches, was marking Jimmy Crute's face up by landing those punches. And Jimmy Crute, when he took the fight to the ground, he was he in the second round of the fight, he almost had Menifield in a submission. He was trying to put on a chokehold, and it seemed he didn't have his arms around him right, and the Menifield basically got saved by the bell, put back into a stand-up position after the second period. So Menifield is going to undoubtedly want this fight to be both of them on their feet, and Jimmy Crute is going to want them to be going to the ground, where his skills with wrestling and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu can take over. Not that he was a wrestler, but his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu gives him the skills of on the ground like a wrestler. The fight was really Alonzo Menifield should have won the fight. The fight stats were 70 significant strikes for Menifield, 17 significant strikes for Jimmy Crute, 2 knockdowns for Menifield, knocking Crute down twice. Crute did not knock Menifield down with any of his punches. Now the takedowns landed, and you can see what I'm talking about who's good on the ground. Jimmy Crute had 6 takedowns. Menifield had 0 takedowns. And submission attempts, Crute had 3 submission attempts, while Menifield had 0 submission attempts. And I watched an interview with Paddy Pimblett recently, where he was talking about the Muay Thai style, which Menifield fights in. And he said that the style basically invites takedowns, that it puts them in a stance that does not work well for takedowns. He also said that a boxing stance tends to do this, and Menafield was fighting like a boxer, getting his punches off well. Pretty much two punch combinations where he had a good power punch that he was landing very well on Jimmy Crute, taking advantage of that 2-inch reach and possibly a quicker punch. So the fight itself may or may not be that interesting, but stylistically it's interesting because one guy wants the fight to be standing on their feet, the other guy wants it on the ground. And also, this being in the octagon, the cage there tends to help the fighter who wants it to be standing up sometimes because it's harder for the wrestler to take him down. Although Jimmy Crute did seem pretty good at taking him down and pulling him away from the cage at times, although at times the cage enabled Menafield to stand up. So should be an interesting fight. And I just wanted to also make you aware of that fight. And it may be a match that can be enjoyed from a spectator point of view. So thank you for listening this far. Have a great day. And that is it. Thank you.